want to take you through how to build your own water ram self-pumping system. If you have like a spring flow or some kind of water flow on your property already happening, you can use this system to pump water quite a ways uphill, between 10 and 30 times higher than the actual drop involved into the system from your source. Let me go from the beginning here on this piece and show you exactly how I put together and the simple pieces that are required here to build one of these water rams. First of all, this is going to be our water input into the system. This is a 1-inch poly pipe hookup threaded into a 1-inch T. You can see here it's just some black iron fittings, all thread fittings here going into our first brass valve here. These are check valves, one-way check valves, or just a flapper valve, which I'll show you here in a moment. I'm going to take this all apart so you can see the pieces individually. That's our secondary check valve here. This is actually the water out, the overflow. And flip this up for you real quick and just show you. If you look down in there, you can see the brass valve. And if I can flip it around and swing it, you should be able to see that valve swing shut. So there you go. It's just a flapper valve on that side, and that one faces so that when you have it just sitting here, it's going to be open. The other valve inside, which you'll see here in a moment as I open it up for you, this valve is facing the opposite direction, so as it sits upright, that valve is actually sitting shut against it and will flap open upwards. This one's flapping downwards. What happens here in a water ram is water pressure comes into the pipe. It's going to force this flapper. It's called a flapper valve. It's going to be really quick on its flaps in between as it's working here. Forces that closed. There's a pressure that builds. Forces this valve on this to open for a moment and fill this 3-foot chamber full of water and air pressure. It's going to pressurize that system, and the second the pressure is greater on this side of the valve than the water pressure coming in from our input, this valve is going to shut. That's going to force that pressure uphill and out our line for our water ram system. Alright folks, so here's all the pieces basically broke down. I left some of them kind of together because it's pretty easy to see what they are. Obviously this main piece here, this is our water input right there. Once again you have the 1-inch poly pipe hookup. It's got the little jaws on there to make a seal in the poly pipe. You got a 1-inch T, a small piece of 1-inch all thread almost, got a little bit of steel in the center, and a short 4-inch, 1-inch coupler there. Pretty simple piece. You'll need one 1-inch elbow. You can either get the 1-inch down, that way it'll thread directly in your valve, or you can make your own couplers there. Very simple to do, and that's going to screw on right there to the end of that. Here's one of your valves. Once again, here you can see that valve's closed. If I flip it that way, the valve's open. So it's just a flapper valve that you can get at any hardware store. Very, very simple. This valve's going to sit right here, just like that. Alright, the next piece here is going to be another one of your valves. You got to make sure this valve's aiming the right direction. That one's going to close coming down. So that's going to sit right there on that piece of thread. Your next piece over here is this 1-inch T. That's going to sit on there just like that. Let me back up a bit here so you can see it building up here. Move that back, so you're going to have another one of the pieces all thread coming into the top of that T. There's your 1-inch to 2-inch here adapter. That 2-inch adapter slides right inside of this 2-inch to 3-inch adapter right there. That's your pieces going up to your 3-inch tube there above that. And you have your cap, which you see here, on top of that pipe. And then we just have a reducer from 1-inch to 1/2 inch right here that threads into this T right there, if I can get it to start with one hand anyways. And then off of the valve here, you just have a 1/2 inch to the 1/2 inch valve, and then a 1/2 inch to 5/8 inch black poly pipe hookup, and that's going to sit there. So there you go folks, kind of a dry set of the system back together. So you can see all the pieces individually and how quick and easy you can buy all these parts from a hardware store to build your own water ram. So I'm going to go ahead now, put my Teflon tape on all those pieces, and now I got it apart. We're going to glue our PVC all together here. We're going to go set this up and make a mount for it out there by the spring. I'm going to show you this thing in action. Alright folks, we're on the water ram project. What you see here is our output hose. That's a 5/8 poly pipe hose. And you see that nice stream of water falling all the way down. Let me zoom out a bit here so you can kind of get a better reference of how high that is. That's about 9 foot or so off the ground. And this is our spring pool right here. This is actually our feed pool where our water's coming from. So we're pumping water at least 9 feet above where we're getting our water from right here, this spring pool. Once again, you can see this constant flow of water. Let's go ahead and walk down now and see our ram pump in action. First of all, the input to our ram pump pressure line is down here in the bottom of the pool. I had to work it through the dam wall. You can see it coming out right here. This is a 1-inch piece of black poly pipe. The one up here, once again, is 5/8, dropping the water all the way down. That's 24 hours a day, folks, no power. So you can see the feed pipe here drawing water out of the bottom of the pool. It runs all the way down right here. And right beside it there you see the output pipe coming up, and that's the water coming out. So once again, the two pipes are running all the way down right here. Let me cross over the log. So here we are, this is our ram pump right here. But let me walk in just to show you up close what's going on here. So here you go, folks. Let me go over the top of that so you can see the valve in action. You can see the valve comes up and stops. Give you just a moment to hear it. Alright, so you can hear that in action right there. And every time that valve shuts, this valve in here opens for a brief moment, pushing a higher pressure water up into this system. There's our output once again going to the 5/8 that I showed you the output from. We have a valve on there. You want to kind of get it primed up and slowly open the valve, and then all of a sudden it works great. So once again, folks, a very, very simple thing to build here. Just a couple one-way flapper valves, just a T, some this quarter-turn ball valve here, a 3-foot tall pressure tank, and you don't need a pressure tank this big at the top. I just did this because of the distance in the head that I'm going to be pushing with this system. So you could go a much smaller head, probably only a foot on this would be fine for most uses. Right before we get this fridge totally started, you see the water ram down there. Here's the black pipe running all the way up from it. Right here, and I've decided to mount the fridge right now for this primary test on the outside of the greenhouse. And so here we have our fridge. You can see our input line running inside the greenhouse, tapped into the water line. And right here is our output line, and that is the water coming out from our water ram right there. Alright, so it's been about an hour. Let's go ahead and open up this fridge. Take a look at what temperature it is. Oh, look at that. That looks about 43, 44. It's already starting to go up a little bit as I pulled out of the fridge. We're down to 43 degrees, somewhere in there, 44 degrees. That's a perfect temperature for a refrigeration unit. What this means for me is later through the season, as my vegetables mature, like lettuces and other things, here in the greenhouse, as you can see the asparagus and everything inside of there. So we need a place that's nice and cool to store those in between when I pick them and when I sell them. Well, so far since I've made the first video, I haven't had to mess with this thing once. So you're talking almost 2 full months, and it's been up and running solid ever since then, and I haven't had to do anything other than I had one time I had a piece of leaf get stuck in the valve right there, kept it from coming all the way shut. I got the leaf out of there, and it's run just fine ever since then. So here's a shot of the sprinkler once again in action from our water ram. Just making sure, first of all, the greenhouse stays nice and cool during these hot 90+ degree days, and that it's watering everything and keeping it nice and green.